I'm Madison, 30 years old, and I've been married to Thomas for 5 years now. He proposed to me after we had been dating for a while. Thomas is 2 years younger than I am, and undeniably handsome, with a bit of a reputation as a ladies' man. This reputation sometimes led to tension between us. When he proposed, I couldn't help but voice my concern. Thomas, I said, I'm thrilled about your proposal, but there's one thing that's been on my mind. Oh, what's that? He asked, his brow furrowing slightly. Your reputation as a ladies' man. Everyone knows about it. Hearing this, Thomas laughed softly. That's only because I had never met a woman I truly loved before. But now that I've met you, Madison, I promise there won't be any rumors with other women. Can you trust me? Absolutely, I replied. And so we got married. Our wedding took place at a prestigious hotel known for hosting grand celebrations. I wasn't too keen on such a lavish affair, but Thomas's family was well known in society, and they had a tradition of holding weddings at this particular hotel. I had no say in the matter. At the reception, Thomas's family and relatives exuded an air of having lived life to the fullest, while my family was small and modest. My father had died in a car accident when I was young, and I had no siblings, so it was just my mom and a few close relatives. I suggested to my mom that we invite more people to balance out the guest list, but she just laughed it off. Being a lawyer and the head of her own firm, my mom was great at public speaking. Her speech at the reception was praised by many, but I was so embarrassed I wished it would end quickly. The day after the wedding, we left for our honeymoon, touring famous Australian tourist spots for 2 weeks and staying in top-tier hotels. 3 days after we returned, Thomas went back to work. Though he called it work, he was the vice president of his father's company and was set to take over once his father retired. He always came home promptly at 5:00 p.m. We lived in a separate house on his parents' property, but this separate house was a spacious 6-bedroom home, complete with a 60-year-old maid who had looked after Thomas for years. I hardly had to do any housework as my only task was preparing dinner. Thomas, probably spoiled growing up in a wealthy family, was very picky, not just about food, but also about people. The maid informed me of his food preferences. He wouldn't touch anything he disliked, but if he loved something, he would want it every day. His absolute favorite was macaroni and cheese. He would eat it at home and even order it when we went out, making meal planning a breeze. About a year after our marriage, Thomas suggested, how about a 10-day trip to Europe next month? You've never been there, right, Madison? I would love to go, but can you take that much time off work, Thomas? It's fine, my dad's there, and I don't really do much anyway. If you're sure, then I'm in, I agreed. Great. Oh, I want to bring along some friends, Thomas added casually. I was surprised, thinking it would be just the two of us. Who's coming with us? My college junior, Anthony, and his girlfriend. Anthony might even be more handsome than me, and his girlfriend is so cute. I'm quite envious, Thomas laughed. I felt a bit uneasy about another woman joining us. Another woman is coming. Yeah, she's just 21, but Anthony really wanted her to come. If you're okay with it, then so am I, he said. Little did I know, this trip would mark the beginning of the end for Thomas and me. The next month, we flew to England. Everything in Europe was new and exciting, and I couldn't stop taking photos on my phone. While Thomas didn't talk much to Anthony, he was very kind to Anthony's girlfriend, Brittany. Once, when Thomas went to the restroom, I struck up a conversation with Anthony. You're Thomas's junior from college, right? For some reason, Anthony hesitated before replying, yes, I am. I laughed at his response. You're funny, Anthony. You seem nervous. No, not at all, he said, but just then, Thomas returned and saw us talking. Madison, what's going on? What are you telling Anthony? Thomas asked, his tone sharp. We were just chatting. Why? Is it wrong for me to talk to Anthony? I replied, confused by his reaction. It's not like that, Thomas said, but he seemed to interrupt whenever I spoke to Anthony or his girlfriend, making it hard for us to have a proper conversation. During the trip, Brittany and I once went to the restroom together, and I decided to share my observations with her. It might sound odd, but it seems like you and Anthony are really close, I said to Brittany, noticing the awkwardness between them. Brittany, clearly taken aback, replied hesitantly, it's my first time traveling abroad, so everything's a bit overwhelming. While you're here in a foreign country with your boyfriend, try to enjoy it, I suggested, trying to lighten the mood. Thank you, she murmured. The four of us moved on to France, visiting various famous tourist spots. One evening at the hotel restaurant, Brittany was conspicuously absent. Anthony, where's Brittany? I asked, noticing her empty seat. She said she'd be a bit late. She should be here soon, he replied, but his tone lacked conviction. Thomas seemed visibly irritated as we waited. After a while, with no sign of Brittany, Thomas abruptly stood up. I'll go check on her, he said. I thought Anthony should be the one to go, but Thomas was already on his way. 10 minutes passed, and neither Brittany nor Thomas had returned. I turned to Anthony, my concern growing. What's taking them so long? Is Brittany feeling unwell? Anthony hesitated, then said, I don't think she was sick or anything. I'll go check on them. When I opened the door to Brittany and Anthony's room, they both seemed to adjust their seating abruptly, which only made me more suspicious. But I remained calm and asked, what are you two doing here? Thomas said he was coming to check on Brittany, but you're both just sitting on the sofa. Nothing's wrong, Brittany said quickly. I just felt a bit off, so Thomas was checking on me. Oh, okay. I'll bring Anthony over, I said, trying to hide my growing unease. Sounds good, Thomas replied, but Brittany remained silent, looking down at the floor. When I brought Anthony back to the room, Brittany stood up, ready to leave. Oh, are you feeling better now? I asked her. I'm fine, she muttered, while Anthony just watched her without saying a word. Our dinner that night was a quiet one, with none of us speaking much. After dinner, we all returned to our rooms. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Thomas, can I ask you something? I began, noticing how tense he suddenly became. What is it? He asked, his voice guarded. What's the deal between you and Brittany? Oh, what do you mean? She's just Anthony's girlfriend, he replied, trying to sound casual. It doesn't seem like they're close at all, I pointed out. They're both just quiet people, he said dismissively. It doesn't seem like they're just quiet. It's like they're not talking at all. You're overthinking things, Madison. Am I? When you were in Brittany's room earlier, and I opened the door, you both seemed startled and adjusted your seating. Enough. If you keep this up, you'll ruin our trip, Thomas snapped, cutting me off. After that, I didn't press the issue further, but my suspicions only grew. The next day, while we were touring, Thomas and Brittany suddenly disappeared. I searched frantically, but I couldn't find them anywhere. Anthony seemed to be looking too, but he didn't appear genuinely concerned. After about 2 hours, Thomas and Brittany reappeared. Thomas, where were you? Where were you, Madison? Brittany and I were looking for you. I was searching everywhere. Anthony didn't seem too worried, though. Well, what can I say? Thomas replied evasively. Brittany, where were you? I asked, hoping for a straight answer. Brittany just slipped down and didn't respond. Brittany was with me, looking for you and Anthony, Thomas said. Is that true, Brittany? I asked, turning to her. She gave a slight nod, but I wasn't convinced. Still, I didn't push further. From then on, Thomas stayed close. But he barely spoke to me for the rest of our European trip. Even when I tried to initiate a conversation, his responses were dismissive. The day after we returned, Thomas took a day off from work, claiming he was tired. You've had a long vacation. Shouldn't you go to work? I asked. He replied with a sleepy face, Oh, I'm good. That moment made me realize how irresponsible he was about his job. The following Friday, just after 5:00 p.m., Thomas called me. I won't be coming home tonight, he said bluntly. Hold on, why? I asked, alarmed. You don't need to know every detail, he replied coldly. You're my husband, Thomas. Of course I have the right to know, I insisted. But he hung up without another word. I was sure it had something to do with another woman, probably Brittany. The next day, Saturday afternoon, Thomas returned home with a lawyer. Without any preamble, the lawyer said, You owe $50,000 in compensation for adultery. Thomas smirked and added, Just pay up. I was dumbfounded. Why was this lawyer making such a claim? As I stood there in shock, the lawyer handed me his business card and left with Thomas. Thomas, if you're leaving, at least explain. I called after him, but he left without a word. I gathered myself and called my mom, using the number on the card. Mom, are you free? What happened? This lawyer hired by Thomas just came and demanded $50,000, claiming I committed adultery. I'm so confused. Did you? she asked. Of course not. Then don't worry. But he's a lawyer, Mom. Who is he? I looked at the card again and was shocked to see the name of Mom's law firm written on it. He was a lawyer who belonged there. Mom, he's from your law firm. Who? She asked. I told her the name, and she replied, that man is always taking on dubious cases. Can you ask him to drop the case? He might, but Thomas will just hire someone else. What should I do? After a pause, Mom said, I'll handle this for you. Thank you, Mom. I'll look into it too. Later, Mom called me back. I figured it all out. Thomas is a terrible man. I'll teach him a lesson, she said, revealing Thomas's devious plans. He had always been a ladies' man, but this was beyond anything I had expected. But maybe I was wrong to marry him. You did nothing wrong, Madison. So you're okay with divorcing him? Absolutely. Let's call Thomas and set up a meeting. You'll come too, right? Of course. I need to give him a piece of my mind. And make sure his lawyer comes too. I will. I called Thomas and told him we needed to discuss things and to set a date with his lawyer. Misunderstanding my intent, he said, Oh, finally ready to pay the settlement. I'm all for that discussion. I'll check with my lawyer and call you back. Even though Thomas wasn't short of money, he seemed eager to get the divorce settlement over with. The next day, Thomas called, and we agreed to meet the following Saturday at 2 p.m. Come Saturday, my mom and I went to Thomas's house, where he and his lawyer awaited us. His lawyer arrived a bit late and seemed taken aback upon seeing my mom. Mom addressed the lawyer. Good to see you're still taking on cases without proper research. No, not at all. I always do thorough research before accepting a case. Really? Then can you provide evidence of Madison's alleged affair? The lawyer, realizing he was cornered, remained silent. Thomas, frustrated, said, Come on, lawyer, I'm paying you a premium for this. I wasn't informed that the opposing party would be represented by the head of my firm. The lawyer mumbled, clearly rattled. To our surprise, the lawyer quickly excused himself and left. Watching him go, Mom sighed. He's always been like that. I'll have to let him go. Thomas looked defeated. Confronted by Mom for evidence of my supposed affair, he went pale and confessed. I'm sorry. I made up the story about Madison's affair. I wanted to be with Brittany and lied impulsively. So Brittany was your affair? I asked, feeling the sting of betrayal. Yes, but I found out something about her, Thomas admitted, his voice trembling. She's living with a boyfriend. They're not married, but he doesn't work and gambles all day. Really? I replied, stunned. Yes, and I suspect they might be after your money, he added, looking devastated. Hearing this, Thomas broke down. Seeing him cry, I felt a pang of sorrow but held back my tears. Through his sobs, Thomas looked up at me. Madison, I'm truly sorry. I wish we could start over. I was furious. How dare you? After having an affair, you want to get back with me? Thomas, you have no choice but to divorce me. Thomas, overwhelmed, sobbed uncontrollably. Why did you bring Brittany on our European trip? It's unthinkable to bring an affair on a trip with your wife. I didn't want to, but Brittany insisted. She had never been to Europe, and I gave in. So you both were making fun of me. I never intended to mock you, but I understand why you would feel that way. Was Anthony Brittany's fake boyfriend? Yes, he's an employee at my company. He was thrilled to go to Europe on a work trip and share a room with a young woman. Your company will surely go bankrupt with you as CEO, I remarked coldly. Thomas had no reply. Thomas will proceed with the divorce, I said firmly. He remained silent, face down. Last time you demanded $50,000 from me. Now I'm asking for $500,000. You can afford it, right? Thank you for your time. We'll be in touch. Mom and I left Thomas's house and returned home. I turned to her. Thanks for everything, Mom. It's my job, she said with a smile. I'll send you the bill. Mom laughed. 3 months later, I officially divorced Thomas, who promptly paid the settlement I demanded. Later, I heard that Thomas, still infatuated with Brittany, went to her house. Her boyfriend was home, and after a chase, caught Thomas outside a nearby store and beat him up, landing Thomas in the hospital for 2 months. Brittany reportedly watched and laughed. Now, I'm in a new relationship and being cautious to avoid past mistakes. My new boyfriend is a kind lawyer from my mom's firm.